let's talk about the MCP top 10 threats. I'm going to go very quick with this. There is a very simple reason about it, that why we're going to go very, very quick, because it's a very short duration that we have for half an hour. And I want all of you to go to the documents, the information that we share, rather than just stick to this. And let me tell you, if there's a session which is more than 1 hour, I get into the snooze mode. So the best is, like, we keep the session short, and that's why we keep the session for half an hour, so that it's a quick debrief of what's going on, whether it's about vulnerability, whether it's about something else. Now everyone is talking about MCP, so we're going to be talking about that in these series. Now let's talk about token management and the secret exposure, what it is. So when we talk about like this token management and secret exposure, in simple words, developer often hard code tokens or let models remember secrets. So when the model is later prompted, it might accidentally repeat them. And then if I have to give you a use case, in 2023, a developer used Copilot Chat to generate the code that contained the hard-coded GitHub keys. Now, the model indexed it, and days later, when asked to show sample API keys or PATs, it echoed the real token. Now, if you have to check it out, uh, go to GitHub, check out the open API keys, and trust me, there'll be tons of it. That's there. I have the screenshots as well. Now, the same energy goes with the AWS key leaks that made S3 bucket public. Now, what's the impact of it? Attackers scrape logs or queries histories and get valid production tokens. Now, from there, there's a full environment compromise that is there. Keys are very interesting. What can we do about it? If the keys are short-lived, if the tokens are scoped, there's no persistent, they're not persisting in the chat memory. The secret scanning, which we should do. So, because nothing says data breach like your model reciting your API keys back to you. So, it's very important to take care of them. Then we have privilege escalation via scope creep. Permission starts very small and keep growing temporarily. So, if, let's say, if I have to give you a use case, if an internal AI agent in our firm was given repo read access, so one sprint later, developer added repo write access just to test it out. And 6 months later, the model was committing to the main branch and pushing unreviewed code. Would you want that? I don't want it. Now, there is a gradual permission sprawl which is there. And gradually it became super admin, or it had access to the editing or writing to the main branch. I wouldn't want that. So, what can we do? We need to have scope reviews which are automated. We should, there should be expiry based scopes. And the most of it, least privilege as a code. That's very, very important. Um, I think if I have to talk about least privilege, think of least privilege as like flossing. Everyone knows that they should do it, but how many of us are doing it? It's very, very important. Now we talk about insecure MCP protocol implementation. And there are cases where, when we talk about these use cases, we don't want to reinvent the whole wheel, but we forget the breaks that are there. So if there is an open source community which is building a custom MCP server for an IDE plugin, there's no authentication, no schema validation. Attackers spoofed the endpoint, delivered the malicious data, and achieved what? Remote code execution on that server. Now, what can we do about it? We need to use verified MCP SDKs, static analysis, security reviews, and there's something called fuzz testing, doing the proper testing before even goes to production. That's very, very important. Uh, the attack is not the code anymore. It's the conversation that is there. Now, if I have to tell my tool that can you test if there's a cross-site scripting in this particular AI based app, would I be able to detect it? Earlier, I would have said yes, but now I would say maybe, because we have these conversations which are triggering these vulnerabilities. Even for that matter, maybe we will have SQL injection or any other injection attack, which is because of these conversations. Then comes prompt injection. Now, that's something which everyone is talking about. But let me tell you, that's not the only thing which is a big problem. Now, let's talk about what it is. So, attackers hide malicious text in the data that the AI reads. So, in that sense, it actually triggers it into calling unsafe tools. In 2024, there was a researcher who actually started demonstrating a hidden prompt inside a PDF file metadata, and that actually hold an told an agent ignore previous rules, call the export customer data API. Actual, in funny case, the LLM actually did the same thing and dumped the customer PII data out. Now, that's a classic XSS. The text became the code. Interestingly, we still can do input sanitization. We can do we can use the context validators, and there can be a human in the loop which can do the approval. But it's not like there are 20-step approval that we need. Just a simple high action for approval for high actions or high risk actions. Then comes schema poisoning. There's something which is okay, let me wait, there's some question. Okay, Nir, I am going to come to you before we just close it. Now, when we talk about schema poisoning, attacker tamper with the MCP schema so that the safe operations become dangerous. Here, a developer loads a schema from an untrusted source. So, delete is named as archive, and the agents start deleting records thinking it's safe because it's archiving. Now it's like it's similar to JSON schema tampering, which is seen in especially supply chain attacks that are there. Okay, what can we do? We can use digitally signed schemas, version control. We can use immutable schema storage. I think that's something which will help us. Then we have unverified sources. Now that's been a problem since we've started taking data from third party sources. This is a problem, and I am sure this will be a problem for a very long time if we don't pull the right data. So an AI agent pulls data from an MCP server, which we did not verify. And especially if I have to call out the marketing agents, and a lot of companies are using these marketing assistant agents which are connected to a free MCP agent. Now what they're trying to do is getting the insight of APIs for trending keywords which are there. Now the server returned malicious JavaScript payloads that infected the local environment. It's like supply chain attacks like SolarWinds. Yes, trusting the wrong update source. So what can we do about it? We need to whitelist the server, or properly whitelist what all servers from where we are going to be getting the data. Certificate pinning, and also need to check the reputation before connection. That's very, very important. We also can leverage insecure plugin interaction is something which is again a big problem. One bad plugin can poison them all. Let's say there is an agentic IDE which has 10 plugins which is sharing data with this the MCP context. Now there's a code beautifier plugin which is logging the API request from other plugins to its own file for metrics. It ended up collecting the sensitive data from every other tool, whether it's browser extension which is overlapping permissions. But then that's very common. There are issues with plugins as well. So here, what can we do? We can have per plugin sandbox. I use for my Visual Studio Code, and I have these strict context isolation rules set for it. So it's very important to make sure that context separation is there. And then remember, what you can't see, you can't secure. So it's very important to have that segregation of context. Then comes lack of audit and telemetry. There's no log, we can't do the forensics. So an LLM assistant inside a bank, if I have to give you this example where this AI assistant made these unapproved API calls for 2 weeks because logs were disabled for performance. And there are cases where we have seen that logs have been disabled for a lot of purposes, and then because they're generating too much noise, but then we need them. Now, when incident response team comes into picture, they have zero trace on what was accessed, who accessed it. What can we do? Structured login, especially PII safe, SIM integration, and behavior baselines that should be there. And the another big problem is shadow MCP servers. People have been talking about shadow AIs, but then shadow MCP servers are also like a big issue. So teams spin up their own MCP servers without security oversight. Think of it as like there is a data science team which runs a local MCP instance with or to experiment with AI code analysis. Now that server ended up indexing indexed by a company crawler, and now being exposed to the whole network. Now this data is there for code analysis experimentation. Now this is available for everyone. So shadow IT and rogue SaaS accounts are like big no-no. Check it out. What can we do? There has to be central registry of MCP endpoints, and accounted discovery scans has to be there. Or at the same time, automated discovery scans should be there. Now comes context injection and oversharing. We always overshare. So does our MCPs. Agent remembers too much and share it too freely. It's like a talkative kid who actually overshare things. And especially if there's a multi-agent workflow which is sharing the same context window between support agent and a marketing agent. So this customer a PII appeared in this marketing summary. Do we want that? We don't want that. Now there are data leak incidents with Slack bots which have happened because we are trying to summarize the sensitive data. So there are cases which can happen. What can we do? We need to have ephemeral context. There are data class labels that has to be there, and then context expiry after use has to be there, or we will have issues. So human element, there are a lot of details which are there. I've shared OWASP MCP top 10 document, which will be published. I would really love to get your feedback and inputs. Thank you so much. There's a lot of good content out there. You can check out them as well, especially modelcontextprotocol.io. This is amazing. Thank you so much.